You know, you can be kind of standoffish too, friend.
This is the first time Brandy has been outspoken about what's going on in her life outside of therapy, outside of talking to me. You know what I'm saying? Hey, girl. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you for accepting the invitation to come sit on my new couch.
Thanks for having me.
For A Date With Destiney. So, for my people who are viewing, welcome, welcome, welcome. But they don't know who you are. So, tell us who you are, girl.
I'm Brandy. Hey, guys.
I laugh because I feel like we have come so freaking far. How we went from being, you know, these best friends at 18 years old to having a spurt where we did not talk. And now we didn't fall out. We did not fight, y'all, okay? It was no fighting. I think it was a period in time where we were just on two separate pages. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and it wasn't not necessarily like a bad thing, but I really felt like, okay, God is taking me this way and he's taking Brandy this way. Mm-hmm. And conversation just kind of, you know, ceased. But then it's so amazing how God took that 3.5 years and molded us into the women that we are today. And now we're able to come together and it's like we didn't miss a beat. But I think what I find so fascinating about it all is just learning my best friend all over again. Yeah. You know, being able to like be around each other day in and day out up until we were 23 years old and then not talk. And so it's like, of course, things happen. You know, we grow up, experiences occur, you know. And I wanted to talk to you about those experiences that you had because I always joke about it, but it was like when we were friends before, it was like Brandy knew no struggle. I mean, like you knew struggle, but it was like you were so like, you know, oh, I can't relate. Destiny, I can't relate. That never happened to me before. I'm just, you know what I mean? Now, it's so much that we have in common. Like, you know, we're both full-time entrepreneurs. You get what I'm saying? I was like, oh my God, I would have never known Brandy to quit her job because, you know, you love teaching and not only that, but you work with autistic kids. And I thought I could see you doing that forever. Me too. But then you went through like, you know, you went through a breakup. You know what I mean? You had to walk away from toxic friendships, relationships. You're now in therapy. So it's so many things that have occurred, and I think you're so powerful.
Thank you.
And I wanted to bring you onto A Date with Destiney because when I think of Broken Gracefully Built Intentionally, mm-hmm. and just hearing your testimony, like, I was like, oh, I gotta have Brandy on here.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. I want you to talk to me a little bit about, like, first, let's talk about when we stopped being friends. Like,
so, I do want to say, I feel like I didn't know how to show up for you. Because mm-hmm. like you were saying, you were going through things, you were a mom, you know, you were experiencing different things that I wasn't experiencing. Yeah. So it was more like, I can't really provide her with that much help. I just want to go out to eat. So I don't think she really wants to eat right now. Okay, because we was at Fridays all the time. So it was just like, I didn't know how to show up. And then I met my ex-boyfriend. And I kind of, like, lost myself in that situation. Then I feel like that's when we, like, beep, 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 beep. Like,
yeah. And I think it was because, like, I can briefly remember, like, you getting into that relationship mm-hmm. and just seeing, like, how happy you were. Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay, you know, even if we are no longer friends, you get what I'm saying? Like, if she's happy, I'm happy. Mm-hmm. But I want you to kind of, like, take us through that experience. Because it wasn't all turmoil. You get what I'm saying? Okay. But it shaped you, like.
Where do I start? We're the same zodiac sign, so I feel like that is very important to say.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So, like, when we were good, things were, like, good. Yeah. But when we were bad, it was, like, poosh, like, things mm-hmm. really blew up. It all took a 360 when we moved in together. Mm. I was in a supervisor position. I would, like, travel every other week and go to Michigan and then come back home. I would come back home, like, people would be in my living room. My house wouldn't be clean. My dog would look like she missed her mommy or whatever. But it would just be a lot. And I would be telling him, like, hey, like, this is a lot for me. Yeah, I would talk to him about it. He would just, like, blow it off, whatever. So I will say, when you're fed up with somebody, it takes the smallest things. Like, they can drop socks on the floor and you're like, get out my house. Get out my house.
You breathe the wrong way. It's time to go.
Get out. So one day I was sitting in my bed and I was on Snapchat and I'm just scrolling and I just see butt and I see hands. And I said,
oh my goodness.
And next thing you know, he was at my house. And, like, I would say when he left my house was empty. It was just me and the four walls of my house. Like, there was nothing. I had no furniture. I had no clothes. Nothing.
Because from when you told me that experience, they were like, his family was, like, taking from you. Yeah. And I remember you saying...
Like, and I was just standing there, like, my parents, because my parents were there, and they're like, are you going to speak up and say, like, hey, I brought this, or hey, I did this? And I was just like, no, like, I'm done. Yeah. Like, that's it. Like, it's over. So I just stood there, and my house was empty. All I had was my bed and a TV.
And took my dog. And he took your dog. And to go, I think, and I love how real you are about this, because for one, it takes a lot. You get what I'm saying? I can see the emotion. And so I even, for real, and I appreciate you sharing that with us, because there's somebody out there that is struggling. You get what I'm saying? Maybe even struggling from walking away from that relationship that is being toxic. You know, I would say that even with my own experience when we were not friends, like, getting into a relationship with a man that was 8 or 9 years older than me, you know, being engaged to this man, and this man physically and mentally abusing me. Yeah. And I think people don't understand that abuse can come in different forms, whether it's physical, whether it's mental. You get what I'm saying? Like,
even not like someone not listening to your words. Yeah. I don't care what nobody says.
Like, who wants to be ignored?
Yeah,
you get what I'm
respect
saying?
My words.
Like, because now I feel like I'm not good enough. Now I feel like what I have to say doesn't matter. And, you know, being neglected is abuse, in my opinion. And I think, you know, for ladies that are out there struggling with walking away, or not, you know, or maybe, because I know when I was in my, you know, tumultuous relationship, it was, when do I know that I'm fed up? Like, when is the right time to walk away? And so for you to say, like, I stood there and I watched this man and his family take everything that I owned, and I couldn't even stop them, not because, oh my God, you taking my stuff, but because it was like, as long as you get the hell up out of here, you can take whatever you want to take.
No, for real.
Like, that's so wild to me. Now, I know that, I think during that time, you know, like, even when we came back to being friends and you were telling me this story, I was, like, angry, because I was just like, oh my God, this was not the Brandy that I know. You know what I mean? Like, why? I'm like, girl, if he would have took my stuff, I would have beat his, like, you know, all types of stuff, right? And so for you to, like, tell me this story, and I'm just like, wow, you know, and after I sat and thought about it, I was like, wow, she really went through a lot, because after that, you went through, like, a transformation process. You cut off all your hair. Like, I want you to tell us about that.
Okay, so after we broke up, you know, everybody decides, you know, I'm going to explore myself or whatever. So I started dating. I did that. I moved back home. I broke my lease. I paid over $1,000 to move back with my parents. Crazy, I know, right?
But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, it was like being in that apartment made me so depressed. Like, I was never there. I was always at my parents' house. And everybody would be like, you have somewhere to live. I'm like, but this does not feel like my home. Yeah. Like, they just, like, not to be rude, but, like, they just violated me. So I don't want to be here. So I moved back home. I cut my hair off. I went natural. I worked with children on the autism spectrum for like 5 years. I walked away from my job. It was a lot. And I was just trying to figure out at the core, who is this new Brandy? Because Brandy thought she was like this homemaker. Brandy thought she was going to be a behavior analyst. And all of that just came crumbling down. So it was just time to reconfigure who is Brandy.
And during that time, that can really feel like something foreign, you know, because like you said, you had all these different ideas of who you were as this woman, and for it to be taken away from you, and now you got to start from scratch. Like, nobody wants to start over. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? And so now, I would say, like, to me, that's brokenness. You mm-hmm. get what I'm saying? Where I go from being this homemaker and, you know, having my dog and my boyfriend and, mm-hmm. like, we're living in our cute little apartment and mm-hmm. life's great even though I find people in my house. You know what I mean? Like, life's good, right? And then now it's like, okay, boom, we're done. So a breakup in itself mm-hmm. is traumatizing. You know?
And I'm glad you said that, because I feel like most people feel like a breakup is not trauma. Because I was one of those people. I was like, I don't have no trauma. I don't have anything to talk about.
Yeah.
And then after I started going to therapy, I was like, oh, me breaking up with him was trauma. Like, that's trauma. That inflicted pain on you.
You're right.
So, yeah.
Now, I do want to talk about, I'm glad you said that you are going to therapy, because I feel like in the Black community, mm-hmm. Mental health is not taken seriously. So, mm-hmm. like, we sweep it under the rug because we feel like we have to be so strong, especially as Black women, right? Like, mm-hmm. we could carry the world, like, on our backs. You get what I'm saying? And so I want to know, because it was about a 2.5-3 year time frame, right? Between the breakup to you going to therapy?
Yeah, it was 3 years. So I first thought about going to therapy at the beginning of the pandemic.
Okay.
I had quit my job, so I didn't have insurance. I was calling places, and they were like, yeah, it's going to be like $200. And I was like, my job. That's expensive. Right. So I stopped looking. So then I got insurance. And I think I was talking to you. I was like, I'm about to look for a therapist again. Mm-hmm. So I just Googled. I got on Google and I was like, African American therapist in Indianapolis.
Right.
Like, what am I going to find?
Right.
And my therapist isn't even Black. She's Caucasian and she's amazing. And I love her. And it's been a great experience.
I love that. So I want to know, like, because it was a 3 year time frame between that, because so much had happened, right? Like, mm-hmm. you were in this relationship. You found yourself befriending people that really didn't have, like, your best interests at heart. And so Brandy really went through, like, a tough 3 years. So for you to be in brokenness, like, what kind of clicked to where you were like, I'm not operating out of brokenness anymore. Like, I want to be intentional about the way that I live my life.
This may sound silly, but podcasts.
Okay.
That's why I'm so addicted to them.
Yes, that is a disclaimer. That's our really love language.
I started listening to this certain podcast, mm-hmm. and it has E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher on it. Mm-hmm. And I used to listen to him, and I'm like, why is he yelling at me?
I love him. He's my type of speaker.
I'm like, why is he yelling at me? But it's all about self-development. So I would listen to it every week. So then something just clicked, as in, like, you're listening to this, but you're not implementing this. Mm. So what's the disconnect?
Right.
So I feel like that's when I was like, okay, I need to start being more intentional about just improving myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't even more about becoming an entrepreneur or anything like that. It was more about self-improvement for me.
Yeah. And so you felt like, because I kind of lost Brandy in the sauce of who I thought Brandy was, right? Because we do have these preconceived ideas of how we're going to be. Because, like me, I thought I was going to get married at 25. I thought I was going to have my first child by 25. Like, 25 was my number, right? Mm-hmm. I had a baby at 16. I was not married. I've been proposed to multiple times, never made it down nobody's aisle.
You about to?
But
you about to?
Get into it. No, so I am engaged, and praise God, because I didn't honestly think that time was ever going to come, and I'm so grateful because you're one of my bridesmaids, and I get to share this day with you.
First wedding.
Yes. But no, so just to go back to what I was saying is, we have these just preconceived ideas of who we're going to be, like, and then something happens, and it's like, oh snap. What the hell is going on? Like, what's going on? And so, with the therapy, you know what I mean? I know that could have, I know for me, when I did therapy, of course I needed it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because not only did my previous relationship really just kind of weigh on me, I was also dealing with the death of my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the fact that me and my mom don't have the relationship that I would love for us to have. It was so many different things, you know, going through issues with my son's father.
Mm-hmm.
How do I handle that? How do I deal with that? How do I show up, you know? Because at the time, it was me and DJ for a long time, and I felt like a failure. And, you know, to be raising a kid at 16 years old and trying to maneuver through life at the same time, you start to feel less than. And so I think going to therapy for me was like the last resort, because I started having suicidal thoughts. I started thinking, you know, okay, well, maybe the world is a better place without me in it. Maybe my son will do better if his dad finds him a new mom.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? I might cry, but you get what I'm saying? Like, that's how I felt. And so I had those thoughts frequently. And so something was just like, you need help. Like, and you can't do it by yourself. And so I just want you to know, like, and I've already told you, that going to therapy is like a super courageous move. So when you got to that point, like, were you nervous? Like, what were you expecting to get out of that?
I honestly went in blind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because when I went to my first appointment, I thought it was going to look like a doctor's office.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to walk into like this really cold place, but it was like warm, couch, all that nice stuff. But it's been really good.
That's good.
Yeah.
And do you feel like with your therapist, like, she is helping you implement things that, you know, are helping you get back to the Brandy, or maybe you are this new Brandy and you are just trying to live life intentionally and just tap into the dope woman that you are? Because I think you're super powerful.
Thank you.
And you are very bubbly, and you do have like this sense of that you're light. You get what I'm saying? Like, it just shines so bright. And so I know you had mentioned, you know, to me, like, hey, people are saying that I'm this bright light, but I don't feel like that.
Yeah, so I feel like the shift was when I moved by myself.
Yeah.
So once I moved out of my parents' house, I was like, why doesn't this feel good? Like,
Right.
I even kept asking you, I was like, why do I feel like this?
Yeah.
You was like, girl, I don't know. What's wrong with you?
I know. I'm like, girl, you got your own place. You don't need no man. You got some money. You ain't got no job.
God is blessing you.
God
girl.
is blessing you.
And I was like, yeah, sis, but I feel weird. You're
Yeah.
like, okay. I'm like, I think I'm gonna go to therapy. So I just realized that it was a lot of things that I didn't have time to heal from. Because once I moved back with my parents, it was just like, they were like, okay, that chapter in your life is over, move on.
Yeah.
I don't think they meant to do that on purpose, but it was just like, I had no time to like heal from everything that had happened. So I was like, I need to go talk to somebody, because this, I feel funky. And I don't like feeling funky, because that's not who I am. So, yeah.
And I think, too, I like how you said, you know, your parents and everybody in your life was like, okay, this is over with. Because I'm going to be so completely honest, and this is not even anything I ever told you before. But, like, when you were talking to me about how, like, sis, I'm still struggling from this relationship. And I'm like, bro, it's been 3 years. Like, let's go. You get what I'm saying? And I was talking to Bari, and I'm like, I don't understand why she's, like, in that place, because she's not there anymore, you know? And then I instantly started feeling bad, because I'm like, now, hold on, wait a second, Destiny, because you used to be in that predicament as well. Because even though it's been 4 years, I still find myself being that little girl. You get what I'm saying? Because it's like inner child issues. You know what I mean? Being that timid young Destiny in love. And I think in love with the idea of love, but not the reality of love. Like, love is not a bad thing.
Not really knowing what love really is.
Looks like, you know, because you're thinking somebody talking crazy to me or going upside my head is love. You get what I'm saying? And so even though I'm way over that, I think because it becomes a part of your story, that's not something that you can just easily get over. And so I love how you were like, you know, everybody's just expecting me to hurry up and just get over it. But I can't. Like, you need to give me time. Just like when people might not be ready to have conversations that you want to have. And you have always had to tell me that, like, Destiney, just because you're ready to have the conversation doesn't mean that everybody else is ready to have the conversation. And I'm like, you're right, I gotta get with that. But I just love how you went from being in this broken state of mind and operating from a broken place, because sometimes we can be broken and become functional in our dysfunction that we don't see the toxicity within it.
Yeah.
And so being able to recognize, okay, this is not where I need to be. Mm-hmm. You know, even like we were talking today in the office, even though you quit your job and you walked away from it, there was intent behind that. Mm-hmm. Whether it was, let me find out who Brandy is, let me walk away from everything that I know so that way I could figure out what this new woman looks like to me, because we always have to envision ourselves as this higher woman, and then we have to step into her, right? Because before we can embody what God has for us, we have to believe it. And so I think, you know, being intentional, because I think I recall us having lunch one day, and I was like, sis, like, we got to figure out, like, how do we go from this to this, right? Like, there had to be intention behind it. And so I want to commend you on not staying in that place, because there are ladies who may be watching this who are staying there because it's comfortable. Mm-hmm. They're staying in this broken place because they know how, they've learned how to operate from it. And so I always have to ask a question at the end of the segments, because I know that people are watching this with questions. And so if you were to say anything to the single woman who is out there struggling with physical or mental abuse, or, you know, having a hard time walking away from friends that don't serve them any purpose, mm-hmm. or even thinking about going to therapy, what would you tell them?
Ooh, heal. I feel like along your journey, you pick up so many different pieces from everybody that came on this journey with you that you forget who you are. And you feel like, oh, now I have anxiety, but I didn't have anxiety before I met this person, right?
Yeah.
So you pick that up from someone else. So I just say heal, date yourself.
That's a good one.
Yes, heal and date
I
yourself.
love it. Now, you know I got to ask you this question too, right? So what does intentional living look like to Brandy now?
Ooh, me showing up as Brandy.
Oop.
Okay?
Okay.
Not dimming my light, not apologizing for the way I feel.
Yeah.
I feel that way. It made you feel some way. I'm so sorry. But I'm not taking back the way I feel. So, yeah, just me showing up.
Showing up.
Me.
For you. Because it don't, I mean, we love people and everything, but we're not going to base our life off of what people expect us to be.
Yep.
Showing up as you, 100%. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Brandy, for joining me on my cozy couch for a date with Destiney. And to my viewers, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of A Date with Destiney. And you know, I got to know, what does intentional living look like to you? Go ahead and drop them in the comments. I can't wait to chat with you. Until next time, bye.